I would say welcome to my first video, but I don't know if I should say welcome to my first video because it's not my first video. It's more welcome back to the current first video on my channel. The glare from the computer screen is in my... Okay, thanks. Better. But anyway, I want to say that this was a request, but at the same time, it's something I was going to do anyway. We're talking episode. Like, episode. Episode. Yes. And this is like a guide, tutorial-ish, kind of. Not just like a tutorial video, but kind of explaining-ish things on episode, I guess. But yeah, a little rewind. I have been on episode since 2014. 2014? Also, I think my mic is covered.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no,
Okay.
man. What the fuck, man?
I don't know if anyone heard any of that. But I've been on episode since 2014 when it first came out. And I have literally been on episode since. I started off playing episode on my Samsung tablet. And, you know, over the years, almost 11 years now of playing episode, I think, you know, I think I've learned more than enough to be able to teach everyone else how to use it. But anyway, you know, this is like a couple points on how to use episode. First thing is I would definitely recommend when you first install episode, when you first open it, it helps if you log in. So in the top corner of the episode app, there's often a circle, and if you click on that circle, you'll be led to a profile section where you can then log in and make an account. I once didn't do that and lost all my story kind of progress and all the stories I had saved when I moved to a new device. It was horrible. I never want to have to experience something like that again. Heartbreaking, traumatizing, the worst of the worst, almost. But if you have like more than one device that you want to play episode on, so let's say, you know, you want to play episode on your phone, but you also want to maximize it, you want to play it on the big screen, so you want to get it on your iPad as well, you know, make sure you log in and make an account. I think there's the option to make an account with Facebook, or there's an option to make an account with like Gmail, so with an email. I would definitely go with the Gmail option, only because the last time, ages ago, I tried to make use a Facebook account for it. It crashed. Maybe that was my own fault, you know, but I would definitely recommend using a Gmail over using a Facebook to log in. But yeah, step number one, you definitely want to make an account. But if you have just logged into the app, maybe I'm remembering it different, but it's a little bit different if you just logged in, but you still get the option whether or not you want to make an account. But yeah, I would definitely say make an account, use an email, just so that you can keep all your stories in one place. If you ever think about creating an episode story, making an account, obviously you need an account to do that. In order to access a lot of the different profile things, you need an account. But yeah, I would definitely say that having an account, it just makes it easier to save all the stories. Like, I have stories from years ago, like years and years ago, that I had managed to keep up with that are still on this account, because I've only ever had 2 accounts. The one I started episode on and the one that I use now. And I think when I changed from using like my Samsung tablet to my iPod, that's when I lost that first account, but I still had some of the stories because I remembered them. But yeah, make an account would definitely be one of the main things that I would say to do. Second thing about episode is knowing the different episode styles. So there's different art styles. There's been like different art styles throughout the years on episode, and recognizing them might make it a little easier to find stories, for example, that were written years ago, 0 updates, and maybe the storyline isn't the best, but hey, we live and we learn and we improve. So episode Limelight is the currently used, the most updated version of any of the art styles. It's used in all the current stories. It's the only art style currently that still receives updates. Updates like new hairstyles, new clothes, and things like that. Limelight is the only one that receives it. So if you ever see on the episode page, or you follow them on Instagram or something, and they have a new hairstyle just dropped, or a new Limelight is the only art style that receives these updates. Yeah, it's only Limelight. And then we have Ink. Now episode Ink is what I think most people think of when they think of old episode. If you say to someone who maybe has been playing episode for a couple of years, oh, do you know old episode? They think of Ink. Ink is the second generation ish of the art style on episode. It's seen in stories like the Demi Lovato series, which was a collab between episode and Demi Lovato that I read 17 times. Chain Reaction is another one that Ink is used in. Emerald, and Bad Boy Bachelor, which was definitely something. It was something. And now episode Classic. Now if you've been here since 2014, when episode first came out, you saw episode Classic. Episode Classic is the first art style that premiered on episode. It's seen in stories like Party Girls, Soulbound, which is one of my favorite stories to this day. I don't care if it's an episode Classic story and it's outdated, never gonna get a sequel, whatever. Still one of my favorite episode stories till this day. The Amber Effect, which I also really liked, and Cabo Confusion. Cabo? Anyway, so those are the 3 most used episode styles, even though Ink and Classic aren't used at all anymore because they don't receive updates and, they're kind of outdated on the app. Episode Featured Stories has its own specific art style that kind of looks like semi-realistic, and then if semi-realistic was 2D in a way, it's rare and it's only used in episode stories that are featured, the Mean Girls collaboration that episode had, the Dolan Twins story, yeah, and the Pretty Little Liars story, I think, had this same, distinct but rarely ever used art style. And those are 3. I think those are the only 3. Third section of this whole video is episode original versus episode community stories. Now, there's definitely a difference, but if you don't know what either of those mean, episode original stories are stories that are not released through, but in a sense they're kind of released through episode. It's kind of like, think of watching a series on Netflix or watching something on Netflix and then watching a Netflix original series. Like, there's kind of a difference. That's the same with episode original and episode community. Now, community stories can be written by anyone. There's thousands and thousands of community stories because anyone could write a community story. You'd go on your account, go on your computer, and start making a story, publish it, boom, it's a story. But episode original is kind of like, it does have to pass through episode first, so it gets, sometimes there are stories that were community stories originally but and then had an episode story made out of them, like an original story made out of them. But yeah. Now, episode original stories is kind of what everyone knows them as, the stories where you have to use like a huge amount of gems in order to make a basic decision. Like, oh, do you want to show up to prom in this beautiful vintage Dior looking gown, sourced from God knows where, but it's definitely expensive? Or you're going to rock up in jeans and a t-shirt and embarrass yourself and then fall and break your neck while you do that. And it's like, hey, why? But that's kind of, what happens a lot in episode original stories is that they're very gem heavy. So you could go into these stories. Also, they're also sometimes kind of short, depending on what kind of episode original stories. Sometimes they are also quite short and they include a lot of gem heavy choices. So if you're somebody who's, you've just started on episode, you're not trying to pay money to earn gems, or like I'm saying, you've just started, you don't really want to have to go into a story where they're telling you, yes, either spend 17 gems on this choice or don't play. Which also sometimes in episode original stories, the choices that you make sometimes, quite often they do matter. So it's kind of like, if I can't even make the good choice, but my choices matter, it sucks. So it's like, can I even think of some? I've had so many, I'm trying to remember, but I've had so many choices, outrageous choices that I've had to make that are gem choices, where it's like, do you either want to this, or do you want to, completely fail at life? Now I can't remember any of them, but I will put some of them in here because they are insane. But on the flip side, episode community stories, a lot of them, especially some of the really, really good ones that you might read, oftentimes they also do contain gem choices, but not in the same way that an episode original story contains gem choices. It's kind of one example is at the end of a story in some episode community stories, you might get the option to ask, it might be the author asking you, would you like to use some of your gems to support my story or to support, the author in themselves? Because if you didn't know, a lot of the time, stories where people use more gems are often higher, not pushed to the top, but it helps the story out. But you can get the choice to do that, which, every single time I've ever read a story where, at the end there's a choice to support the author, you also get the choice to be like, hey, I'll support by reading, which is perfectly fine. If you don't have gems, if you don't want to use them, that's fine. You can also sometimes use gems in these community stories to unlock like bonus scenes. Some of these bonus scenes aren't like 100% like, they're not critical to the story, especially in community stories. Like, community authors won't make you have to use your gems for a bonus scene that's critical to the story, because they know that if you don't have gems, you're going to be missing out on some information in the story and it just won't make sense to you. So they don't play like that. They're just, hey, here's the option on whether or not you would like to use gems in this story, and if you do, sometimes you can get bonus content, or what else have I seen? Bonus content, or if, for example, it's a point with if it's a story with points, for example, you could use the gems to buy more points. You know, if you feel like you might have not, earned the points that you wanted to, which I will get into what points and all of that are in a minute. But yeah, that's, I guess, the difference between the two. I think at some point, maybe after this video, or I definitely want to make a story recommendations video, so I can recommend a bunch of my favorite stories that I think are really good. I can give you guys like a small review on whether it's like, what makes a story really good. Is it the animation? Is it the coding? Like, what is it? The storyline? I think I will make an episode story recommendations video. And to Rianne, who motivated me to do this, I will make sure I include stories from the classic art style, from the ink art style, and from the limelight art style, if I do that. Anyway, next part is what things mean, like kind of what some of the lingo means on some of the community stories that you might see. For example, LL like means that it's a limelight story, and that's often used to tell people that, hey, you might have seen the title of this story before, or you might have seen a similar story to this, but this one is a most recent version. This one uses the limelight art style, the same way as people might put ink, which means that this is an ink, story, or they might put original just to inform you that this is using this art style. Full or semi CC, which means full or semi character customization. Now what this means is when you read the story, you will have a chance to customize the character that you play as, and sometimes the character, for example, like your love interest, or sometimes you get the option to customize family members. But yeah, that's what that means. So full character customization means you get to customize the full character, like all the different points. Semi character customization means that you can customize your character, but there might be some things that you can't customize because they're like key to the story. For example, I'm writing a story where blue hair, the main character has blue hair, and that's a key to the story, so it's not something you can change, but everything else about the character you can change. So it's kind of like that. Oh, yeah. So when you have when you see semi character customization, it might mean that the thing you can't change is either key to the story or key to the backstory, or it's just something that, for example, with overlays, sometimes you get, semi character customization because the overlays, and it has advanced directing, which is, a whole nother thing, but it means that the overlay sometimes won't match up if you change certain things about this character. So sometimes those, customization features are just, you can't customize them. Sometimes you will be advised, like the author will be like, hey, don't, or if you want to change this, you you will be advised that changing this can might affect the way the overlays look, so fair warning. But yeah, the gem weight / no gem weight, what that means. Gem weight is if a story has a gem weight, it's released in batches, almost you get it in batches. So it's you can read 3 episodes. I think it's 3. You read 3 episodes, and then in between those 3 episodes is a gem weight. Now, a gem weight is a way to kind of help the story, help the author. And what it does is it gives you the option to either use gems to skip and fast pass to the next batches of stories. And with that, that means it's you don't have to wait, you don't have to use ads, and you just go free straight over to the next ones immediately. But if you choose you want to continue, you just wait a little bit of time, and then you get access to the next batch of episodes, next batch of chapters. So obviously if a story has no gem weight, then it's just the full thing. You just go into it full thing. So MF, love interest, means male or female love interest. If it has 2 MLI, would be 2 male love interests. So sometimes the choices that you make in that story will they'll affect which person you end up with at the end. Point system. Okay, here's what I was talking about. Now, when you have the point system in a story, it means that you can earn points by doing different things in either the way you communicate with certain characters and the choices and responses you make to them, or the certain things you do in certain decisions. For example, let's say you need 5 friendship points in order to kind of unlock some backstory about a character, in order to make them feel they can be vulnerable with you. So, and then you can get this kind of information by earning points. Is kind of how you interact with these characters. So for example, if you are really nice to them and you're genuine, and you're not lying to them, or you're not making choices where it's should I just lie or should I tell the truth? You can earn friendship points sometimes. Or if you're doing things you're in a situation where you see something in an action story or something, you see something, or you think you see something around the corner, and do you choose to hide or run in head first? And you choose to hide and wait it out, and then you can earn survival points. Sometimes that's kind of what points are. So it's sometimes you're just earning points in order to be able to get different responses from characters, but it's not going to 100% change the ending of the story. But some point some stories are your point count means that you will it's gonna change the ending of the story. Let's say you don't get enough survival points, you get to the end of the story, and maybe you or someone in your survival team doesn't make it. Or let's say if you needed friendship points, or at the end of the story that this person who's supposed to want to be friends with you again, or something like that, it doesn't work. So that's point system. Not all point systems mean that it will change the end of the story, but some of them do. Now, how to tell if your point system might affect this is if a story says choices matter, or choices affect ending, something like that. That means that the choices that you're going to make in this story, you're going to have to pay attention to them. Because if you're just this character in the story said not long ago that they were scared of the ocean, and then you get the choice to be do I make them get on the boat, or do I scare them on the boat, or do I not? And you choose, and you don't remember the fact that this person is scared of the ocean. You decide to choose, let me scare the hell out of them, and then it affects your points. But Now, art scenes obviously means that in the story there are, art scenes for certain scenes in the story, but usually it's between you and your love interest or something in the story, art scenes. And mini games is obviously there'll be mini games in the story that you can play, which I love a story with mini games. What is that? Yes, I love a story with mini games. Yeah. Next part, how to earn gems. Now obviously this is the big thing. This is what everyone's been waiting for. How do you actually get the gems to make decisions in the story, or just to have gems in general? Okay. You could read gem stories. Now what it means to read a gem story is like, oftentimes gem stories are episode original stories, and you read them, and every time you complete a full chapter you get given one gem. So you'll complete a chapter, you get a gem. You complete a chapter, you'll get a gem. You complete a chapter, you'll get a gem. That is by reading, gem stories. You can get gems from doing that. You can use shards. Now shards are like, broken pieces of a gem. So the more shards you earn, you can then build it up into like a gem. But like, I think it's 100 shards make one gem, which means that, for example, if you had like 200 is what I was supposed to say. If you had like 200 shards, you could get 2 gems. If you had 2,000 shards, you could get 20 gems, so on and so forth. Like, yeah. Doing tasks. Now, this one's a little bit more tricky because some of the tasks might be like, there's a whole page dedicated to like tasks you can do where it's like surveys and this and that and download different apps. Now that's just tricky in itself. But the doing other tasks, like if you read all of this story, you get 1 extra gem when you come back to the task page. But I think that's on specific stories at specific times. But if not, there is my favorite way to earn things. This next thing is definitely one of my favorite, like, new things that episode added, like, update. It's not really new, but it is kind of, is the Gumball. The Gumball is like, like a Gumball machine. You get 3 pulls, like, every day. So, like, at the same time every day, you get, like, 3 pulls. And sometimes you can earn, like, smaller coins in order to, be able to get another pull for the Gumball. You can earn character, like, profile backgrounds and profile, like, outfits and things that you can wear on your profile. So for example, I have this outfit on with like this background that I got, in a Gumball. Now you can also earn passes. So if you ever run out of passes and you want to earn more to be able to finish a story you're reading, you can earn those in the Gumball. You can also earn like 30 minutes, or sometimes it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes of just like unlimited pass-free reading. So whatever stories you choose to read, you won't have to use any of your passes. It's just like unlimited. You can earn that. You can earn shards. You can also sometimes earn gems in the Gumball. But if not, if you ever run out of like shards or passes and you want to get some more, there's a small icon in like the corner of the screen that you can press, and you can either watch ads to get shards or watch ads to refill your passes quicker. I've been doing that for years. I guess, yeah, the Gumball. Now, the last bit that I would probably talk about that is also quite new to episode is a book club, an episode book club. Now I have my own, which is the exact same name as my channel here, so it's the same name. And sometimes you can join a book club in order to earn book club points, which can get you certain rewards, or you can just join them in order to, you know, get story recommendations from people, just, you know, review and talk about different stories that you're reading. I know for mine, I mostly use it to like recommend a story. Or if I'm like reading something, I'm like, yep, I like this, or I like this story that I'm reading. And yeah, that's book clubs. I'm thinking, have I missed something out? I hope I haven't missed anything out, because it's my second time filming this, because the first time I filmed it, I definitely felt like I missed out information, but I had to film it again. And yeah, I hope this helps anyone wanting to get back on episode or to play episode, just to know what you're doing better. Yeah. All right. Peace.